Good morning. Welcome to a new series that I'm starting on this channel, and it's going to be called Cooking with Miss G. And the inspiration for this video honestly came from the fact that some of the most important life skills you guys don't learn in school, and you actually learn them from your parents, from your friends, and one of those skills is cooking. So essentially, these are videos being made for people who maybe have parents who are always working or who want to start cooking and don't really know where to start. And we're gonna have a little bit of fun together. We're gonna start with really basic recipes, and then hopefully, if the series catches on and if people are interested, we'll get to the more advanced things. The other reason why I'm starting this series is because I want to make myself breakfast today, and I decided to take you along on that journey. This is a breakfast that is one of the first things that I learned to make when I was living at home, probably when I was around 10 years old. I know some kids learn it earlier. It's just a very typical breakfast of scrambled eggs. And I will also explain to you how you can make it into an omelet if you want to, and how to pick out your pots and pans. Well, you don't need pots, just pans. And hopefully this will be a really nice series. It's gonna be really casual. I do not script this before I come on camera, and you'll see as I'm speaking that we're just gonna have fun, and it's like I'm in the kitchen with you. I also want to show you a little behind the scenes of Lulu, who is watching this series, but she's deciding to do it from the other end of the kitchen. So she is there, she is present. She's probably gonna run up to me if I decide to use cheese. Okay, so first things first, to make scrambled eggs, you are going to need a pan. Chances are in your kitchen there are many different types of pans. Let me show you some examples. Some of them could be really small, like this, right? Some of them could be slightly bigger. Because I'm only making breakfast for myself, I'm gonna use a smaller pan. Pans come in different sizes, some of them have lids, some of them don't. And you'll be fine either way. So there are different types of stoves. I'm not gonna show you mine right now. I'm gonna start showing it to you as I start cooking. But my stove is gas. There are also electric stoves. Usually I put my pan on the burner and I just light it to a nice low heat, medium heat, just to get the pan a little bit heated up. And I'm gonna show you that in a minute. Quick disclaimer before I show you my stove. I live in a studio that's kind of old, so my oven isn't the newest oven in the world, but it does the job and I've been happy with it so far. So let me quickly show you my setup and then I'll explain what we're doing next. So this is my setup. As you could see, I have it on low heat. You could change the settings of heat just by looking at your burner, right? You can make it medium heat, or high heat, which makes it bigger, or you can make it smaller. I put it on low heat because I want the pan to preheat before I put any butter or oil in. My pan is heating up. I will now show you what we're gonna do with the eggs. So I'm gonna use 2 eggs because I'm just one person. I'm just making breakfast for myself. I'm also gonna use a cup right here. The goal is when you crack an egg that you're only going to crack it once, well, preferably in the middle. So one of my eggs just broke. Hold on, I need to clean it up. So one of my eggs rolled off the counter and just broke on the floor, so I just cleaned that up. My apologies for the disruption. I am gonna keep that in as a little blooper because honestly, cooking isn't perfect. I feel like when you watch a cooking show, people think that everything's gonna be perfect and that you're just gonna get it automatically. No, sometimes you make a mistake and that's fine. So when you try to break an egg, you're gonna crack it in the middle, right? So eventually when you get really fancy, you can learn to crack with one hand and just break it apart this way. I'm not gonna be fancy today. I'm just gonna crack the egg against the cup and then just use 2 hands to break it up. So let me show you what that looks like. This is just a regular cup, nothing fancy about it. See, I hit it twice. You see that crack in the middle? Then you're gonna take it, and I'm gonna do it with one hand just to show you guys because it's a little easier, and you just crack it and it goes through. I'm doing it with one hand. You don't have to do it with one hand. The way that would look with 2 hands is just you holding both sides and cracking it. I'm just doing it with one hand, okay? So now 1 egg is in. The thing to be careful of when you crack it with one hand is you are gonna have to make sure that there are no eggshells in your cup, okay? Now, taking the other egg, I'm gonna do the same thing. This time I'll do it with 2 hands, okay? So I took it, cracked it once, broke it apart with 2 hands, and now it's in the cup. So now I'm going to go very old school. And when I say old school, I mean like old world cooking, not enough utensils, using the basics. So I know that some people use a whisk in order to whisk their eggs. They argue that it makes their eggs more fluffy. I was not taught that way. I was taught to just take a knife. I'm gonna use any knife. This is a butter knife, not sharp at all. Well, it is kind of sharp, but it's a butter knife. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tilt my cup this way. And the reason why I'm tilting it is so that the eggs come to the side. I put the knife in, and then I just make circle motions inside the cup. And as I'm making circle motions inside the cup, oops, again, I'm gonna have to figure out how to do this so that I still have eggs, right? And that I can show it to the camera. I'm gonna leave it as is. I'm gonna clean up the floor later. Bear with me, this is the first video. More bloopers to come. But luckily I still have eggs and I'm not completely learned. I will no longer be tilting a cup with eggs inside it to show you how the eggs are whisking, right? But that being said, they're done, right? I luckily still have eggs in there. Let me see if I can tilt the camera and show it to you. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe you can see it. I hope so. Okay. Now, we already had 2 bloopers. If this isn't home cooking, I don't know what is. I feel like when I watch a cooking show, there are no mistakes. And so here I am showing you the background of just cooking, okay? Now, my pan is still on low. I need to put something on it in order for the egg not to stick to the pan. What I'm gonna use is honestly just butter, okay? I know I'm gonna use my knife and I'm gonna move it around a little bit. The reason why it caught on so quickly is because my pan was already being heated and it's probably maybe heated too much at this point while I was making the video. Then the only thing that I'm gonna do, remember it's still on low, right? I'm going to pour in the egg and I'm going to let it sit for a bit, okay? Now, there are different ways of making the scrambled egg, and it partially has to do with appearance. So I'm gonna try to be safe, and I'm holding my camera with one hand, and I'm just gonna show you very quickly. You could just move it from the sides in. The sides are the first to catch flame. I could explain the physics and the science about that to you later. I think a lot of cooking is science, and so you start to learn that the sides catch on first, right? Notice as I'm moving it in, right? And I'm only moving the sides that are white. You're getting a different shape. So depending what shape of scrambled eggs you want, maybe some people like to use forms to make their eggs a certain shape. I just like mine to be light and fluffy, right? I'm still keeping the heat on low. I am not changing the heat. I'm being very careful because I'm holding a camera in one hand. But usually what I would do is I would hold this handle while making it. I just have no one else to film me. If you're curious, Lulu is now sitting on the other end of the hallway and just watching me. But we're gonna save that for another video, okay? So now the eggs are really fluffy, right? They look really fluffy. I'm excited for the butter taste. And now I'm just gonna show you guys something that I like to do, which not a lot of people do, but I will show it to you very quickly, okay? So I'm fluffing them up with my knife. There we go. They're nice and fluffy. One thing that I like to do for my scrambled eggs, and this is not for everyone, I like adding cheese on top. I let the cheese melt a little bit. I don't stress about what the cheese looks like or anything. It just feels nice for me to have some melted cheese on top. And now I have Lulu running over because she wants some cheese, so I'll show you Lulu too. But all I do is I just rip it up basically. You could buy shredded cheese in stores if you're really picky. But for the most part, for me, I just throw my cheese on to the scrambled eggs. And I don't really care what it looks like. I mean, obviously if guests are coming over, that's a little different. But if I'm just cooking for myself and I just want a little bit of cheese on my scrambled eggs, I'll just throw it on top. And then usually I'll plate it and put some bread on the side. So you guys, here's Lulu. Lulu's just excited about the cheese. She doesn't really care so much about the eggs. So every time I'm cooking, she comes up and I'll give her usually like 2 slices of cheese. This is sometimes called the cheese tax. So I paid my cheese tax. Yeah, Lulu? Did I pay my cheese tax? Here's the cheese on my scrambled eggs. Again, like I'm not picky about it. I don't need it to melt all the way. I'm fine with it not melting all the way, right? But that's because I'm cooking for myself. I feel like if I was making it for a guest, maybe I wouldn't put it on, or maybe I'd be more careful about how I just toss the scrambled eggs, right? But these are just really nice, simple, easy scrambled eggs, right? So I'm going to turn off the heat. Now here's the deal. I'm gonna be lazy today and I'm gonna use a paper plate to plate the eggs, right? Obviously if I was being fancy, I'd use a nice plate. The one thing that I want to point out, if you leave your eggs on the pan for too long, they're still cooking because the pan is still hot, right? So you want to be able to get your scrambled eggs off the pan as soon as possible, because otherwise they're going to be burnt underneath. I'm going to try to do it this method. It probably is not going to work because the cheese is too sticky. So I'm going to do it a different way. I reframed the camera. I'm now taking the eggs and just using a knife to put them on the plate. Now, if you don't feel comfortable using a knife, that's fair. I learned how to use a knife when I cook since I was very young. And I feel that's just the old world way of cooking. Like when you don't have a lot of utensils or supplies, you just have your knife ready to go and you do your job. You could obviously, if you want to, just use a spatula. Like no one's gonna judge you. You could use a spoon if you wanted to. But I use a knife just because that's what I'm comfortable with. This is what the scrambled eggs end up looking like. Obviously just really nice scrambled eggs, clean. Here is Lulu. There are many sides that you can make for these scrambled eggs: potatoes, bacon, hash browns. But for today in this video, I'm just showing you scrambled eggs. All right, so this is the first ever cooking video I made. I am going to keep the bloopers in, so you are going to get to see the original mistakes that I made just in terms of mistakes while filming, right? Because if I'm usually just whisking eggs, like I'm not going to tilt the cup all the way, right? But I wanted to show you guys the egg spilled. I had an egg roll off the counter. I'm keeping all that in just to be authentic. And meanwhile, I'm going to go eat my eggs. I do recommend regular plates and not paper plates, but sometimes paper plates are nice because I don't need to wash them. So I hope you enjoyed something. I hope you learned something. If you have already made scrambled eggs, that's really great. For those of you who have not made scrambled eggs, definitely get parent permission before you try anything at home. Be careful when using a knife. Make sure that you're holding it in a way that is safe, right? You don't want to be touching the tip. You don't want to be touching the edge. You just want to be holding it like this, right? And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I think the next video I'll do something maybe more complicated, maybe baking, maybe something else. And remember, the most important things that you know in life, or that you learn in life, you don't learn them in school.